He was once the most powerful king to ever rule the earth, a man completely unmatched in strength. But before he was a king, he was just a helpless orphan, abandoned on the steps of a church. He grew up knowing absolutely nothing about family, love, or comfort. His entire life was a miserable cycle of violence, where slaughter was the only language he understood. But one day, utterly suffocated by this endless bloodshed, he stares down at his armor, completely broken by the life he's lived. He closes his eyes, wishing for an escape, and suddenly, a blinding, mysterious light engulfs him, ripping his soul away. Gray wakes up in a completely different world, a strange voice echoing in his mind. In this life, I want you to search for the light. When he opens his eyes, he's in for the shock of his life. A woman is cradling him in her arms, and a man next to her is completely overjoyed, treating him with pure affection, celebrating that he is alive and well. In that exact moment, Gray pieces everything together. His soul has been reincarnated into the body of a newborn baby, and these two are his new mother and father. They name him Arthur, their hearts bursting with joy. But Gray is still struggling to adapt. He doesn't recognize his new name, let alone this tiny, fragile body. His parents shower him with care and affection, but he is completely unaccustomed to feeling loved. One day, while they are outside the house, Arthur witnesses the first thing that absolutely blows his mind. He realizes this world is packed with real magic and incredible wonders that never existed in his past life. He also discovers that vicious monsters roam the lands around them, meaning he needs to grow strong as fast as humanly possible. 6 months pass, and Arthur finally manages to crawl on all fours. His parents are thrilled. They tuck him into bed and leave the room, thinking he's just an ordinary baby. But Arthur has other plans. He uses his blanket like a ladder, slips out of his crib, and crawls straight to the family library. He grabs a heavy book and starts reading everything he can about this new world. Through his reading, he uncovers massive details about the continent. It is split into 3 major realms. First, the Kingdom of Darv, home to the dwarves. Second, the Kingdom of Elenoir, home to the elves. And finally, the Kingdom of Sapin, the realm of humans and the largest of them all. He opens another book that explains magic, its various elements, and how to wield it. Arthur doesn't know how this world's magic works yet, but in his past life, he used a very similar energy called ki. Deciding to test his luck, he focuses all his senses to gather his internal strength. Unbelievably, his core actually begins to form. But just as he is about to complete it, boom, his mother catches him red-handed, picks him up, breaks his concentration, and carries him right back to his room. As the days roll by, Arthur's mother grows deeply attached to him, writing down beautiful memories about how incredibly smart he is and how much he loves to read. Yet, she notices something troubling. She has never seen him smile, not even once, and she has no idea why. The only time he ever seems truly stimulated is when they visit the city, where Arthur stares intently at weapons and magic. Eventually, Arthur turns 2 years old. His father takes him out to the yard to teach him how to swing a sword. But luck isn't on their side. His mother catches them in the act. She runs over and starts screaming at the father. "What on earth do you think you're doing? The boy has barely learned how to walk. You useless man." She gives him a piece of her mind, leaving the father apologizing profusely while Arthur watches, completely unfazed. His mother takes him inside to feed him, but the moment Arthur spots the books, he points and demands them. His mother refuses, saying, "No more books. You'll ruin your eyesight." But Arthur gives her a look of pure, unyielding determination, melting her strictness completely. She leaves him to read, but what his mother doesn't know is that Arthur isn't just reading. He is actively drawing mana from his surroundings, compressing it into every single part of his body. He forces the energy inward until, boom, the house literally explodes. His parents, who were outside, are nearly engulfed by the burning debris. Terrified for her son, the mother sprints through the smoke to see what happened. When the father arrives, he is frozen in utter shock. Arthur isn't an ordinary toddler. He has successfully awakened and formed his manacore before even turning 2 years old. He is an absolute prodigy. Arthur walks out of the ruins with total confidence, but just as he approaches his parents, bam, a piece of the roof collapses right toward him. Arthur tries to run, but it looks like he's done for. In a flash of incredible speed, his mother dives in to shield him, while his father shatters the falling debris above them. Arthur thanks God that they survived, but his mother bursts into tears of pure relief, thanking her husband and tightly hugging her son. The father breaks down crying from joy too. Arthur stands there, there, completely baffled by these warm, overwhelming family emotions. He doesn't understand why they are crying, but suddenly, tears start flowing from his own eyes automatically. For the first time, he feels the beautiful sweetness of having a real family. He tells himself that even though he doesn't understand what they are crying about, his heart feels lighter and happier than ever before. The next day, Arthur has a vivid nightmare about his past life. He dreams of himself executing a criminal. The man begs for mercy, pleading with Gray to spare his family and kill him instead. But Gray, cold and completely ruthless, brutally slaughters the family right in front of the man's eyes before finishing him off, proving he possessed zero mercy or emotion back then. He wakes up from the nightmare, and his father takes him out to the garden to present him with his very first weapon. He shows him a massive, awesome-looking gauntlet, expecting Arthur to be thrilled. But the boy rejects it and reaches straight for a sword instead. Seeing this, the father smiles and says, "All right, let me teach you how to duel." He infuses his wooden training stick with energy and tells Arthur to attack. Arthur smirks, activates his mana, and boom, he shatters his father's weapon in a single strike. The father is absolutely stunned by his son's monstrous talent. Realizing Arthur's potential is far beyond his own skills, he immediately tells the mother that they need to move to the capital so Arthur can be trained by true experts. The mother completely rejects the idea at first, unwilling to send her baby away. But the moment the father clarifies that the whole family is moving together, she packs her bags in record time, ready to go. A short while later, close family friends arrive to act as guards for the journey. Arthur is introduced to them, and everything goes perfectly. They hop into the carriage and set off on a journey meant to take 2 days at most. Along the way, vicious monsters ambush them, but these guards aren't playing around. They absolutely obliterate every beast in their path. Later, they stop to camp and eat. Arthur is eating quietly when he glances at his mother and notices she isn't touching her food and looks visibly drained. Before he can think much of it, he notices his father was injured in the battle. The guard named Alice stands up to heal him, but instantly, everyone draws their weapons and takes a defensive stance. Healing magic is incredibly rare in this world. If anyone catches her using it, it could invite deadly trouble. She finishes healing him successfully, but right after, one of the heavy warriors walks up to Arthur and says, "Come on, champ, let's have a quick duel." Arthur looks at him like, "Are you serious? I'm the size of your arm." They step onto the field, and it's clear the warrior isn't going to pull his punches, but neither is Arthur. The fight begins, and Arthur instantly channels mana into his legs, completely vanishing from the warrior's sight. The warrior swings wildly, but Arthur counters his moves with absolute brilliance, shocking everyone watching. Unfortunately, due to his lightweight, toddler body, a heavy clash sends him and his sword flying through the air. A girl named Jasmine catches him safely and screams at the warrior for using his full strength against a literal child. The warrior, sweating, replies, "If I hadn't used that force, he would have killed me. You have no idea how terrifyingly strong this kid is." Everyone tells him to drop it, except for Jasmine. She approaches Arthur, deeply intrigued, and asks him how he managed to move with such blinding speed and disappear. Arthur didn't want to expose his secrets, but seeing how politely she asked, he couldn't say no. He teaches her the footwork technique, bringing them close together as best friends, especially since she is the youngest of the group. The next morning, Jasmine hands him a beautiful dagger, telling him it's a gift to thank him for teaching her. They resume their journey under a perfect sky, but the peace is shattered when a ruthless gang of bandits ambushes them, surrounding them from every single direction. It looks like a death trap. Everyone draws their weapons and engages in a brutal battle. The bandits are massive in number, though the guards are far superior in strength. The bandits overwhelm them through sheer waves of bodies. Sensing the mortal danger, the father screams out to Arthur, "Take your mother and escape right now." The mother refuses, wanting to stay and use her healing magic, but the father knows how dangerous exposing her power in this chaos would be. He yells, "Arthur, your mother is pregnant. You're going to be an older brother. Take her and run so you can protect them." Arthur initially wanted to stand and fight alongside his father, but hearing that his mother is carrying his unborn sibling changes everything. He grabs her hand and flees. Bandits unleash magic attacks at them as they flee, but the guards form a wall of steel, blocking the spells and clearing an escape path. Just as Arthur and his mother break free and think they are safe, a powerful enemy mage materializes out of nowhere. He unleashes a lethal spell straight at the mother. Without hesitating, Arthur shoves his mother out of the way, taking the full force of the blast himself and getting blasted over the cliff edge. But if you think he's letting that mage walk away, you're dead wrong. Using the dagger Jasmine gave him, Arthur throws it, hooking the mage and dragging the villain down into the abyss with him. The guards scream and desperately use their magic to reach him, but the distance is too vast. Arthur plunges down the cliff in a heartbreaking scene as his mother screams in absolute absolute agony. Yet, even as he sacrifices his life for his family, Arthur feels a profound sense of happiness. He did his duty. In that final moment, he truly understands the feelings of the man he mercilessly slaughtered in his past life. He whispers, "Thank God for everything. I only wish I could have become an expert before dying, before plummeting into the fog below." But guess what? He doesn't die, because he is the main character of this story. Arthur wakes up at the bottom of the ravine, only to find a colossal, terrifying monster standing right over him. Confused, he panics, but the monster calmly says, "Calm down, child. I will explain everything." Terribly afraid, Arthur launches an attack anyway, and as you can guess, it goes horribly wrong. The boy gets slapped down onto the dirt, his entire body bruised and aching. The monster explains that it actually saved his life after he crashed into the forest. It reassures him, saying, "Your mother and father are perfectly fine. They managed to escape the bandit safely." Hearing this, Arthur's heart floods with immense joy, and he deeply thanks the creature. The monster tells him not to worry about it, but urges him to eat a collection of strange fruits nearby to rapidly heal his broken bones. Arthur devours them, and his body completely recovers. He prepares to leave the forest immediately, but the monster stops him, explaining that escaping right now is practically impossible due to the terrifyingly high-level beasts roaming the outer woods. Arthur wouldn't survive a single minute his current strength. Perplexed, Arthur asks, "Then what's the solution?" The monster smiles and asks him to observe what it's doing. Arthur gasps in shock. "You're actively using magic and absorbing it directly from the raw air? How is that even possible?" The monster replies, "I can teach you this advanced technique, but you must pass my test first. If you succeed, I will train you." Arthur confidently replies, "Deal. Throw it at me." The monster asks, "If I grant you this power, what will you use it for?" Arthur instantly flashes back to the brutal bandits who tore his family apart. Consumed by anger, he snarls, "I will use it to slaughter anyone who dares to separate me from my family." Hearing this, the monster whacks him hard on the head and sighs, "You failed. I will never train someone like you." Arthur stands there, completely confused about what he said wrong. The monster looks at him gently and explains, "Listen to me, boy. First of all, my name is Sylvia. With a single movement of my hand, I could end your life right now. But what then? Hatred, wrath, and vengeance accomplish absolutely nothing. They might bring temporary relief, but they will leave you drowning in a new cycle of agony. However, with this exact same hand, I can comfort you. I can protect you and ensure no harm ever comes your way. That is the true purpose of power, to live for a purpose, to protect what you love, and to help it grow. That is the beauty of life. Now that you understand, I ask you again, what will you do with this power?" Arthur reflects on all the beautiful, warm memories he shared with his parents. Looking up at Sylvia, he says softly, "I will use this power to protect them. I will never be weak again, and I will never let anyone hurt them." Sylvia smiles warmly, deeply satisfied with his answer. She begins training him in her unique dragon technique, turning him into an absolute beast. Meanwhile, deep in the shadows of the forest, another sinister creature of the same species is actively tracking Sylvia, clearly harboring evil intentions. One day, while Sylvia is preparing a teleportation gate to send Arthur home, she suddenly senses the dark creature approaching. She quickly hides Arthur in the brush, whispering, "Do not make a sound or reveal your presence, no matter what." She steps out to confront the beast. The dark creature mocks her. "How are you doing, princess? Hiding here after we mortally wounded you? You only have days left to live. Hand over what you're protecting peacefully, and we won't make this ugly." Sylvia fiercely refuses. She unleashes her true form, transforming into a colossal, magnificent white dragon. She roars, "You think you can defeat me? Only in your dreams, brat." She launches a devastating breath attack, but the dark creature blocks it, unleashing an equally violent counterattack. The battle tears the forest apart. Sylvia, terrified that Arthur might get caught in the crossfire, loses her focus. The enemy capitalizes on her distraction, preparing a fatal, full-power strike. In a desperate move, Sylvia activates her ultimate ability for the very first time, completely freezing time itself. She runs to Arthur and tells him he must leave immediately. Arthur, completely bewildered, cries out, "What is happening? Who is that monster? And who are you?" Sylvia sadly replies, "I don't have time to explain everything, little one. I am mortally wounded, and I only have a few hours left to live." She opens a glowing spatial portal, telling him, "This gate will take you far away from here. I wanted to send you closer to your home, but my remaining energy won't allow it. I have prepared a few gifts to aid you on your journey. Take this dragon egg and wrap it with this special feather so no one can detect its immense power." She steps closer and implants a mysterious energy into his arm, causing glowing, ancient runes to spread across his skin. She urges him, "Go, quickly. Step through the portal before time resumes." Arthur looks at the portal, but then looks back at Sylvia. Sylvia. He remembers how tenderly she cared for him and all the beautiful things she did for him. Tears stream down his face as he cries, "I don't care if you're a dragon, a monster, or an angel. I love you, and I don't want to leave you. Please come with me." Sylvia smiles sadly, "But you already have a mother, little one." "I cannot come." Arthur screams, "So what? You can be my grandmother. I won't leave you behind." Hearing the word grandmother, the ancient dragon's heart completely melts. She bursts into tears, deeply thanking him for those beautiful words. She forcefully shoves him into the portal, telling him to take care of himself one last time, and snaps the gate shut. Arthur desperately tries to claw his way back, but it's too late. Sylvia turns around to face the dark beast with ferocious savagery, unleashing a cataclysmic final battle that completely levels the entire region. Arthur wakes up far on the outskirts of the forest, deeply sorrowful over losing Sylvia. Before he can even process his grief, the sharp scream of a young girl echoes through the trees, instantly activating his mana. He darts through the brush and discovers a gang of human bandits who have kidnapped an elven girl, planning to sell her into slavery. The sight triggers a fiery rage inside him, reminding him of the bandits who tore him away from his own family. He vows not to let them escape alive. He shadows them silently until nightfall, compressing his mana to prepare for a ruthless ambush. Spotting a group of wild magical beasts chained up nearby, Arthur uses them to his advantage, throwing a projectile that causes them to let out a panicked roar. One of the bandit guards walks over to investigate the noise, and boom, Arthur materializes right behind him and slits his throat with absolute ease. That's one down. He takes the dead guard's weapon. A second guard gets suspicious about why his partner is taking so long and walks over to check. Arthur drops down from the trees like a shadow, taking him out instantly. That's two down. Hearing a strange noise, the third bandit walks over, and in a flash, Arthur slices his hamstrings, leaving him screaming in agony. The crippled bandit screams for their leader, who happens to be a powerful mage. The mage steps out, confident that no one can defeat him. But if you think Arthur is intimidated, you don't know him at all. Arthur moves like lightning, burning the mage's legs before crushing his skull with a fatal blow. Finally, he turns his gaze to the last remaining bandit, executing him cleanly. With the threat entirely neutralized, Arthur walks up to the terrified, bound elven girl. He gently removes her blindfold and reassures her, "Don't be afraid. The bandits are all dead. You can go home now." He gathers the loot he wants and prepares to leave, but the girl tightly grabs his hand, sobbing, "Please don't leave me alone out here." Arthur's heart softens. He smiles and says, "All right, I'll escort you back to your village." We learn that her name is Tesha. Seeing the other captured animals, Tesha begs Arthur to free them too. Though he initially didn't want to waste time, he complies, freeing the beasts. They set off toward her homeland, which turns out to be deep within the magical elven forest. Along the way, Arthur cooks delicious meals for her, keeping her spirits high. When night falls, Tesha admits she is terrified of sleeping alone in the tent, so Arthur stays right by her side until she falls fast asleep. The next morning, they continue their march, and Tesha grows incredibly attached to Arthur, becoming inseparable friends. However, Arthur suddenly experiences a sharp, agonizing pain tearing through his body, forcing him to drop to his knees, completely paralyzed. Suddenly, one of the massive magical beasts they had freed earlier emerges from the trees and approaches them. Arthur panics, thinking it's going to attack him while he's completely helpless. But to his utter surprise, the beast gently drops a massive pile of fresh food at their feet and walks away, wishing to thank them for saving its life. They enjoy the delicious meal and rest safely for the night. By the next morning, they finally arrive at the grand, hidden entrance of the Elven Kingdom. Tesha squeals with absolute delight and begs Arthur to enter the city with her. Arthur feels highly hesitant, knowing the history between humans and elves, but he ultimately gives in. The moment he steps through the gates, the elven guards immediately surround him and slap him into magical handcuffs. Humans are strictly forbidden and deeply despised here. Tesha stands there quietly, and Arthur assumes she set him up. But if you think this sweet girl is betraying him, you're entirely wrong. Tesha fiercely defends him, commanding the guards to release him immediately. Just then, her grandfather arrives and orders the guards to stand down. It turns out Tesha isn't just an ordinary elven girl. She is the crown princess of the Elven Kingdom, and her grandfather is the former High King. In short, no one dares to cross her. As Arthur walks through the elven city alongside her, the citizens glare at him with pure hatred and disgust, whispering that a filthy human has no right to step on their sacred land. They finally reach the royal palace, where Tesha's parents embrace her, crying tears of joy. However, when they look at Arthur, their expressions turn cold and unwelcoming. Arthur steps forward and calmly explains the entire story of how he rescued her. But Tesha's father scoffs in absolute disbelief, saying, "You expect us to believe a weak, fragile human toddler slaughtered a whole gang of veteran bandits? You're clearly lying to us, boy. Arthur stays silent, but Tesha's grandfather steps in, deeply impressed by Arthur's calm demeanor and evident bravery. Arthur looks straight at the Elven King and says, I have safely returned your daughter. I have no desire to stay in your kingdom. All I ask is for a guide to direct me to the nearest human border so I can return to my family. The king agrees, promising to send soldiers to escort him by morning. Arthur is escorted to a luxurious guest room to bathe and change. Suddenly, a violent, crushing pain strikes his heart, leaving him gasping for air. Needing fresh oxygen, he walks out into the royal gardens, where he spots Tesha laughing and enjoying a beautiful moment with her family. A deep ache of homesickness hits him, making him desperate to see his own parents again. As he stands there, Tesha spots him and runs over, puffing her cheeks out angrily because he's planning to leave her. She tells him, smile a little, you dummy. You should be happy you're finally getting rid of me. Arthur tries to calm her down, but she's completely emotional. Suddenly, a powerful aura sweeps through the garden. Arthur senses the attack, perfectly blocks it, and glares at the assailant, only to find Tesha's grandfather, Virion, standing there with a smirk. Arthur demands to know why he attacked him, but Virion laughs, explaining it was actually a harmless, invisible magic insect meant to test the boy who supposedly wiped out a bandit gang. Virion draws a gleaming sword, moves Tesha out of the way, and challenges Arthur to a duel. Arthur wants no part in it, but realizes he must prove his strength to validate his story. The battle begins at blinding speed. The old man effortlessly deflects Arthur's rapid strikes, reading his every movement. But Arthur refuses to back down. He pushes his limits until his sword shatters under the pressure. A stray shard flies straight toward Tesha, but Arthur moves like a blur, catching it just in time to save her. He activates his advanced magic, unleashing a ferocious counteroffensive. Virion attempts to strike him down, but in a stunning twist, Arthur outmaneuvers the old king, placing his hand directly on Virion's head, claiming absolute victory. Thrilled by the boy's monstrous talent, Virion prepares to unleash his full, terrifying power to keep going, but Tesha jumps on her grandfather's back, choking him out while screaming, behave yourself, you old fossil. Can't you see he's way younger than you? Virion immediately deflates, apologizing for letting his excitement get the best of him. Turning to Arthur, he offers a shocking proposal. I have witnessed your true power. How would you like to become my personal disciple? Before Arthur can even respond, the severe, agonizing pain paralyzes his entire body again, causing him to collapse to the grass. Virion looks down at him grimly. It's exactly as I feared. You possess a beast's will inside you, but your human body cannot handle it. If you don't become my disciple to master it, you will surely die. That night, Arthur falls into a feverish nightmare. He sees a colossal, terrifying beast standing over him, launching a brutal attack that causes an agonizing physical pressure in his chest. He wakes up drenched in sweat, changes his clothes, and goes out to meet Virion. Today, Virion is taking him to meet an old friend, a powerful seer who possesses the ability to let Arthur communicate with his family across the continent, allowing him to finally decide whether to stay in the Elven Kingdom or return home. They arrive at the seer's secluded home, and she welcomes them inside. It's clear she and Virion share a long history. The moment she looks at Arthur, she senses something incredibly unique, but says, I won't pry into your secrets. I know you're here to see your family. Focus entirely on the magical water before you. Visualize their faces clearly, and speak. Arthur closes his eyes, deeply visualizing every single detail, facial feature, and memory of his beloved parents. Suddenly, the water glows, revealing a live projection of his mother and father sitting at a table, eating in quiet sorrow. Suddenly, Arthur's voice echoes in their room. The parents freeze, unable to believe their ears. It has been over 2 long months since their son vanished over a cliff. They burst into tears of overwhelming joy. Arthur reassures them, telling them he is alive, safe, and doing well. He explains that he desperately wants to return to them immediately, but a severe instability in his manacore forces him to remain in the Elven Kingdom to undergo critical treatment. He pours his heart out, telling them how deeply he loves them, leaving the family weeping with profound happiness, hearing their boy's voice once more. Arthur cuts the transmission, turns to Virion, and says firmly, I accept. Make me your disciple. Virion beams with pride, and they return to the royal palace. This time, the Elven royal family welcomes Arthur with immense warmth and respect. After all, he is now the best friend of the crown princess and the direct disciple of the former high king. No one dares to disrespect him. To celebrate, Tesha takes Arthur on a grand tour across the entire city, playing games, eating delicious street food, and having the time of their lives. But during their walk, an arrogant, spoiled elven noble brat intentionally bumps into Arthur, mocking him and calling him a weak, pathetic human. But if you think Arthur is going to take that insult, insult. You're dead wrong. Arthur delivers a flawless, devastating punch to the brat's jaw, sending him flying through the air. They casually resume their awesome tour, leaving Tesha completely beaming with happiness, ecstatic that her favorite person is staying by her side. The next morning marks the official start of Arthur's intense training under Virion. The training focuses entirely on mastering and controlling the ferocious beast locked inside his body. Though the training is described as brutally difficult and painful, if you think Arthur is going to complain, you've got another thing coming. The boy adapts with terrifying speed, pushing through the agony with pure savagery. 3 long years pass by in a flash. Arthur grows significantly taller, gaining absolute mastery over his immense power. Meanwhile, Tesha blossoms into a beautiful young lady, staying constantly by his side. Virion has successfully taught them all the vital fundamentals of magic and prepares to move on to advanced lessons. However, Tesha looks at her grandfather, highly confused, and asks, "Grandpa, why is Arthur strictly forbidden from using actual magic during our physical training sessions?" Virion turns serious and explains, because the beast sealed inside him is far too volatile. If he uses magic before his physical body completely adapts to it, the energy will literally rip him apart from the inside out. For the past 3 years, I have been systematically modifying his physique just so it can contain it. He goes on to explain the 4 primary elements of magic, hinting that Arthur might awaken an entirely new form of power. Sitting Arthur down, Virion reassures him, "Don't worry, give me exactly 2 minutes, and everything will be perfectly stable." Virion channels high-level magic into his hands, attempting to fully awaken and bind the beast inside Arthur. But suddenly, boom, Arthur's raw power completely explodes out of control. The shockwave blasts Virion and Tesha backward, tearing Arthur's clothes to shreds before he loses consciousness and collapses. No one understands the sheer magnitude of what just occurred. They rush him to a medical bay, and the moment Arthur opens his eyes, Virion is staring at him, completely pale. He whispers, "Arthur, what kind of beast is locked inside?" Arthur hesitates, but deciding to trust his master completely, he whispers, "It belonged to a dragon." Virion gasps in absolute shock, finally understanding why the energy was so violently destructive. He firmly warns the boy, "You must never breathe a word of this to anyone, or the entire world will hunt you down." He then delivers some incredible news. "Your journey here is coming to an end. In exactly 2 months, you will return home. Your core has fully stabilized, and your training with me is officially complete." Arthur's heart leaps with pure, unadulterated joy. Tesha, however, falls into deep sadness, utterly heartbroken that Arthur is leaving her and wondering how she will ever survive without him. Late that night, while Arthur is asleep, the mysterious egg he received from Sylvia suddenly begins to crack. A tiny, incredibly cute baby dragon emerges from the shell. Arthur is utterly baffled by how it hatched, but realizes the fully stabilized beast in his body acted as the catalyst. He forms a lifetime soul contract with the baby dragon, naming her Sylvia in honor of her mother. The two cuddle up, completely overjoyed. The next morning, Tesha bursts into Arthur's room, rips the blanket off him, and freezes when she sees the adorable baby dragon. She squeals, dives in, and squeezes Sylvia in a massive hug. Sylvia looks at Arthur like, "Please save me from this girl." They head out to the training field, with Tesha chasing Sylvia around, desperate to play with her. The moment Virion spots the dragon, he nearly suffers a literal heart attack. He clutches his chest and pants. "My boy, my heart is far too old for these massive shocks. Please warn me next time." Keep her identity completely hidden. Luckily, her current form looks like a common magical pet, so no one will suspect she's a dragon. "My boy, my heart is far too old for these massive shocks. Please warn me next time." Keep her identity completely hidden. Luckily, her current form looks like a common magical pet, so no one will suspect she's a dragon. Virion announces that today's training will be entirely different. He is going to activate his own beast will to fight Arthur at full force. Though Arthur felt entirely confident at first, the moment Virion unleashes his beast form, a wave of primal terror paralyzes Arthur, leaving him physically unable to move. He shakes violently from fear, completely helpless against such overwhelming, monstrous pressure. Virion hands him a weapon, and for the remaining 2 months, they engage in relentless combat training, while Arthur spends his free time playing with Tesha. As the departure date looms closer, Tesha can no longer bottle up her deep emotions. One afternoon, she bursts into tears, runs away from Arthur, and locks herself in her room. Feeling deeply conflicted, Arthur slips into her room late at night to comfort her. He takes her hand and leads her out of the palace, sneaking out of the forest entirely. They spend the entire night camping under the stars, sharing a beautiful, unforgettable farewell. Finally, the 2 months expire. Arthur packs his gear, ready to return to the human realm. He stands before the grand teleportation gate, bidding farewell to Virion and the royal family, but Tesha is nowhere to be found. The portal fires up, and just as Arthur turns to step through, Tesha's voice screams his name. She sprints through the palace courtyard, tripping and falling flat on the ground. Arthur runs back, picks her up, and pulls her into a tight, emotional embrace right in front of everyone, whispering, "Please take care of yourself, Tesha." She hugs him back tightly, weeping openly in a beautiful, touching scene. Arthur releases her, turns around, and steps into the portal, instantly teleporting to the grand human capital. Arthur arrives in the bustling capital and navigates straight to his family's grand estate. He approaches the massive front door and knocks. A sweet little girl opens the door. It's his little sister. His mother and father sprint to the foyer, and the moment they see him, they freeze, unable to believe their own eyes. They drag him inside, his mother weeping with pure joy, pulling him onto the couch and refusing to let him go. She bombards him with questions about everything he experienced. She proudly introduces him to his little sister, Elenoir. And yes, my friends, this is the very baby that Arthur risked his life to protect 3 years ago. The moment Sylvie sees the baby, she runs over to play with her, creating a hilarious scene where no one knows who is playing with whom. Arthur details his entire 3-year journey to his parents, but strategically omits any mention of Sylvia being a dragon or how she sacrificed her life, knowing that exposing such legendary information would put his family in extreme danger. The father looks at Arthur, deeply curious, and asks, "So, how strong is your magic core now? Did you actually train in the Elven Kingdom, or did you just slack off?" Arthur smirks and replies, "Please, Dad, I've officially reached the light red stage." The father's jaw literally drops to the floor in utter shock. "What? I am nearly 40 years old and I'm still stuck at the orange stage. How on earth did an 8-year-old child reach light red?" Arthur laughs, saying, "Hey, what can I say? We're just built different. To clarify the magic core ranking system for you, my friend, the colors start at solid black and progress all the way to pure white. The lighter and brighter your color stage becomes, the more terrifyingly massive your mana capacity and power output are. In short, Arthur is an absolute, unprecedented monster." Just then, a wealthy man named Vincent opens the door. Vincent is a close family friend and the wealthy owner of the city's largest magic auction house. Hearing that Arthur returned, he rushed over, but when he learns that an 8-year-old boy has achieved a light red core, he stands there completely stupefied, wondering if he's trapped in a dream. The father brags, "Come out to the yard and see it with your own eyes." The father and Arthur step into the training field, squaring off against each other while everyone gathers around, eager to see how powerful the boy has become. The duel begins. The father unleashes a barrage of heavy, relentless elemental strikes. Arthur showcases absolute mastery, effortlessly deflecting and dodging every single attack with flawless grace. He completely surprises his father, executing a swift sweep kick that sends the man skidding backward. Amazed by his son's monstrous skill, the father grins. "All right, if you're this good, I don't need to hold back." He fully activates his orange manacore, cloaking his entire body in roaring, violent flames. His speed and physical power skyrocket, pressing Arthur into a corner. To the spectators, it looks like Arthur is about to lose. But if you think the main character is going down, you're dead wrong. Boom! Arthur spreads his arms, fully unleashing his unique manacore. A bizarre, terrifyingly ancient magical aura erupts through the courtyard, summoning crackling lightning into the sky. The father launches a massive fire strike, but Arthur effortlessly manipulates the element of water, forming a massive shield that completely freezes the attack in its tracks. Everyone watching stands there with their mouths wide open, utterly paralyzed by shock. But because Arthur is a deeply loving and respectful son, he intentionally fakes a slight slip, allowing his father to win the clash so the man doesn't lose his honor in front of his friends. The father is deeply moved and bursting with pride. Vincent, completely mesmerized, declares, "This boy is an absolute, once-in-a-generation prodigy. I must sponsor him to join the International Academy of Magic. I will personally cover every single expense. I want to invest heavily in his future." Arthur couldn't care less about Vincent's offers. He ignores the adults and heads straight to his room to organize his thoughts. As he walks down the corridor, a young young girl calls out to him. It's Vincent's daughter, Lilia. She escorts him to a luxurious dining hall filled with servants, serving him an incredible feast to welcome him. She says softly, I know my father can be incredibly aggressive and pushy, but please don't misinterpret him. He was just completely overwhelmed by your mind-blowing strength, nothing more. Arthur smiles, telling her it's perfectly fine. As Arthur prepares to leave, the servants quietly reveal a heartbreaking detail. The ultimate dream of Vincent's family is for Lilia to join the Magic Academy. Unfortunately, neither of her parents possess magic, and Lilia has shown zero signs of awakening a core. Seeing Arthur's monstrous talent caused her immense insecurity and stress, which is why she came here to stress eat. Arthur nods, understanding her silent pain completely. The next morning, the veteran guards who escorted them 3 years ago arrive at the estate, weeping tears of absolute joy upon seeing that Arthur is truly alive. Jasmine steps forward, looking down with deep guilt, and whispers, I am so incredibly sorry, Arthur. I am sorry I couldn't protect you and allowed you to suffer through such agony. It's a beautiful, emotional reunion that brings everyone to tears. The following day, Arthur sneaks out to a secluded area to practice his newly awakened elemental magic, successfully achieving a breakthrough, though he still needs time to fully master it. Later, his mother and little sister drag him to a luxury salon and tailor, giving him a complete, sharp makeover. Tonight, the family is attending a high-end auction at Vincent's Grand Auction House, where members of the royal court will be present, meaning Arthur needs to look absolutely dashing. Before the event, they stop by a high-end beast shop that sells rare magical beast cores. The prices are astronomical. A single mid-tier core costs a staggering $1 million. Hearing this, Arthur stands there completely floored. He looks down at his own chest, suddenly realizing that if a basic core costs $1 million, the ancient dragon core sealed inside his body must be worth easily $10 billion. While they are eating lunch, Lilia looks deeply depressed and anxious. She had begged her mother to buy her a low-tier beast core to help stimulate her magic, but her mother flatly refused due to the danger. After lunch, Lilia slips away from the group. Arthur notices her absence and follows her, watching her enter a shady magic core shop. Lilia intends to spend all her personal savings to buy a core, hoping it will force her body to awaken magic. But Arthur knows she possesses absolutely zero internal mana channels. Forcing a core into her body could literally kill her. He steps into the shop and tries to grab her hand to stop her, but Lilia snaps at him, crying, leave me alone. Just leave me be. I have zero talent. You're a legendary genius, Arthur. People like you will never understand the agony of someone like me. Right at that moment, a group of arrogant, older magic students from an elite academy storm into the shop. They begin violently bullying the shopkeeper, demanding he hand over Lilia's core for free. They are absolute garbage human beings. Arthur steps in front of them, blocking their path. The students turn red with rage, snarling, you brat. Do you have any idea what elite academy we belong to? The shopkeeper trembles in fear, whispering to Arthur, son, stop. They belong to the International Royal Academy. I cannot cross them. The arrogant students activate their magic circles, preparing to blast the shop. Arthur takes a stance, his eyes turning cold, ready to break their skulls. But right before the clash, Lilia's mother storms into the shop with her personal guards, instantly shutting down the fight. The thuggish students curse and flee. Back at the mansion, Lilia bows her head, weeping as she apologizes to her father. She cries, I know I am completely devoid of magic talent. It's just my nature. But why are you trying to force Arthur into the academy in my place? I am trying my absolute hardest. I study every single day. She storms off to the servant quarters, completely heartbroken, feeling deep empathy for her. Arthur follows her down to the dark basement. Lilia looks up, tears streaming down her face, and whispers, I am so sorry, Arthur. I was just so deeply jealous of you. You appeared out of nowhere and completely took all my father's attention, possessing legendary powers I could only dream of. Ever since I was a little girl, my only dream was to become a mage, and my father built everything to prepare me for it. But no matter how hard I pray, my magic core refuses to appear. Arthur looks at her, realizing she is trapped in a dark abyss of despair. A brilliant, wild idea pops into his head. He smiles and says, come with me. He leads her straight to the main hall, where Vincent is sitting in deep sorrow. Arthur looks at Vincent and says coldly, Lilia has packed her bags and left the mansion. She ran away because you placed crushing, impossible expectations on her to become a mage. Vincent gasps, completely shattered. He drops to his knees, weeping bitterly. No, I don't care if she's a mage or not. I just want my beautiful daughter by my side. Suddenly, the door clicks open. Lilia was standing right behind it the whole time. Arthur set up the entire dramatic scene just so Lilia could hear her father's pure, unconditional love. Lilia throws herself into her father's arms, weeping, realizing he loves her for who she is. Arthur bows and apologizes to Vincent for lying, but Vincent hugs him, thanking him for saving his family. But if you think Arthur's master plan ends there, you're dead wrong. Arthur smirks and says, "Don't worry about the magic core issue, because tonight, I am going to manually force Lilia's magic to awaken." He gathers Lilia and his little sister Elenoir in a quiet room, instructing them to close their eyes and focus entirely on his touch. Elenoir instantly senses the ambient mana, but Lilia feels absolutely nothing. Arthur places his palms firmly against Lilia's back, channeling his own refined mana directly into her body, forcefully violently shattering the blockages in her closed energy channels. For the very first time in her life, a beautiful, glowing magic circle erupts around Lilia's body. She opens her eyes, tears of pure ecstasy flowing down her face as she senses the raw magic coursing through her veins. The entire estate erupts into a massive, grand celebration, completely awed by Arthur's miraculous feat. The next day, Arthur and his family arrive at the grand, exclusive magic auction house hosted by the legendary Hysteria family. The High King and the entire royal court are in attendance, actively searching for a high-level magical beast companion for the young prince. Arthur sits up in the grand VIP balcony, scanning the stadium for anything useful. Suddenly, he realizes that baby Sylvia has slipped out of his jacket and vanished. Terrified that someone might discover she's a dragon, he quickly slips away from his family to search the long corridors. Meanwhile, the auction begins, showcasing legendary items one by one. Finally, they unveil the grand highlight, a ferocious, S-rank monstrous lion cub. Though it's currently small, with proper feeding, it will grow into a cataclysmic, lethal beast. The young prince instantly bids a massive fortune and claims it. Deep in the back hallways, baby Sylvia is wandering around when a powerful, sinister court mage spots her. Sensing her bizarre, unnatural energy, the greedy mage moves in to forcefully capture her and force a contract. Right before his hand touches her, Arthur materializes out of the shadows, snatching Sylvia into his arms. He looks at the mage coldly and says, "Excuse me, sir. This is my personal pet, and I highly request you don't lay a finger on her." The mage narrows his eyes, hissing, "This creature is incredibly rare, emitting a terrifyingly bizarre hidden power. I want it." Arthur flatly replies, "She is not for sale," and turns to walk away. The court mage turns red with rage. He fully unleashes his high-level magic aura, snarling, "If you take another step, boy, I won't just cripple you, I will personally ensure your entire family is brutally tortured and slaughtered." The moment those words leave the mage's mouth, Arthur's eyes completely change. A terrifying, monstrous bloodlust explodes from his body. The entire corridor turns a dark, bloody crimson as Arthur turns around, his voice sounding like a demon from hell. "What did you just say?" The sheer, crushing pressure of Arthur's dragon aura is so monstrous that the elite court mage instantly loses his footing, collapsing to the floor in absolute, paralyzing terror. All the magical light bulbs in the stadium instantly shatter into pieces. The High King, the guards, and every single powerful entity in the entire stadium freeze in pure, suffocating horror, feeling the brief, godlike aura echoing from the corridor. Sensing the commotion, Arthur instantly retracts his aura, calming his breathing so he doesn't expose himself. The suffocating pressure vanishes. The High King, furious and shaken, summons all his elite guards to the scene. And guess who steps out as the lead guard, my friends? Yes, Arthur's father. The king glares at the father, barking, "You are a high-level orange stage guard, yet you allowed a dangerous assassin to infiltrate the royal auction and threaten my court? You will be heavily executed for this failure." The terrified court mage quickly intervenes, realizing he can use the king to get what he wants. He lies, "Your Majesty, please do not execute him. It was just a minor misunderstanding. However, if you allow me to confiscate the strange pet held by his little son, I will consider the matter fully resolved." The slimy villain tries to use royal authority to steal Sylvia by force. But the father steps in front of Arthur, glaring right back at the king. "This creature belongs entirely to my son. If he does not consent, absolutely no one on this earth will take it from him." Arthur steps up beside his father, his eyes cold and unwavering. The High King turns red with fury, feeling deeply humiliated in front of the entire arena. He snarls, "Fine. Hand over that pathetic creature, and I will give your son the S-rank monstrous lion my own son just purchased instead." For the second time, Arthur looks the king dead in the eye and replies, "No." The court mage capitalizes on the disrespect, screaming to the royal knights, "He has insulted the crown. Knights, draw your blades and slaughter the brat immediately." But if you think Arthur is going to stand there and let those knights execute him, you are dead wrong. He delivers a brutal double punch that completely cracks their skulls. At the exact same moment, the court mage prepares to launch his ultimate spell, but boom! The entire entire area suddenly freezes in place. The world turns completely black and white, and absolutely no one can move a muscle except for Arthur. Yes, my friends, this is Arthur's brand new ability, a legendary power he inherited directly from Sylvia. He calmly walks up to the frozen court mage, shatters his leg with a single blow, and whispers coldly, "I let you walk away last time out of the goodness of my heart, but it seems you have a death wish. Consider this your final warning. Open your mouth again, and I will personally end your life." With that, he exits the frozen rift, the spell breaks, and Arthur immediately passes out cold right in front of everyone. His mother and father panic, completely terrified for their son, but neither of them, nor anyone else in the room, had seen a single thing during that frozen pocket of time. They quickly carry him to his room to heal. When Arthur finally regains consciousness, his parents explain that the court mage's leg was mysteriously broken, and the villain kept screaming that the toddler did it. But of course, since absolutely no one saw anything, nobody believed a single word the crazy mage said. Furthermore, when the king witnessed Arthur's terrifyingly vast potential, he immediately apologized to the family. Right now, a royal messenger is sitting with the father inside the parlor, offering a massive sack of gold as a formal apology. Arthur walks into the room and notices that his father is still deeply frustrated with the king's erratic behavior and the court mage's actions. However, the messenger clarifies that the corrupt mage, along with the two guards who attacked them, have been permanently fired from the royal court. On top of that, the king personally sent this gold to fund Arthur's future journeys, proving that the king actually respects and encourages legendary talent above all else. It looks like we completely misjudged the king, my friend. Arthur accepts the gold, and as the chaotic day finally ends, he sits alone on his bed, reflecting deeply on the battle. I still have a long way to go to truly master this power. If I keep losing control like this, I will lose everything. I can never stop training if I want to protect my family. The following morning, Arthur travels to the International Magic Academy to formally submit his application. Suddenly, a strange, mysterious owl swoops down and lands right in front of him, as if gesturing for Arthur to follow. The boy follows the bird deep into the surrounding woods, where he finds the powerful headmistress waiting for him. She instantly conjures a massive soundproof barrier around them and smiles. "Welcome, young man. Word has reached me that a student wishes to apply who can effortlessly manipulate all four core elements of magic. Why don't you show me what you've got?" Arthur instantly senses that the headmistress possesses an absolutely terrifying, unnatural level of power. But he knows he needs to prove his worth, so she will grant the massive favor he's about to ask. Without hesitating, he unleashes a powerful earth magic spell, launching a rapid assault. The headmistress effortlessly blocks it, but Arthur instantly transitions into a swift wind magic attack, followed immediately by a blazing fire spell. The headmistress is thoroughly mesmerized by his flawless control and seamless elemental variations. Arthur pushes the offensive, but she delivers a swift, non-lethal counter that knocks him flat on his back. She smiles proudly, saying, "You have completely shattered all my expectations. But if you can withstand this final attack, I will grant whatever request you have." She unleashes her unique, high-level signature magic, sending colossal shockwaves tearing straight toward him. Arthur grits his teeth, focusing every ounce of his mana to anchor himself, and successfully endures the crushing pressure. "You passed the test with flying colors, champ." The headmistress smiles, saying, "Now, tell me what you want. I can see in your eyes that your request isn't going to be small." Arthur looks straight at her and replies, "Exactly. Right now, I am only 8 years old, and I have no intention of enrolling in the academy until I turn 10. For the next 2 years, I plan to travel across the continent, explore the dangerous lands, and see the world." He continues, "But during these 2 years, I will be far away from my family, leaving them completely vulnerable. Therefore, headmistress, I want you to personally guarantee their absolute safety while I am gone. In return, I will owe you a massive favor in the future and consider you one of my permanent allies." The headmistress is thoroughly charmed by the boy's sheer audacity and absolute confidence. She chuckles, saying, "I accept your terms, Lord Arthur. Just make sure you don't go dying on your adventures." She turns and leaves. By the way, my friend, the one who originally told the headmistress about Arthur's talent was none other than Vincent. Our hero returns home to break the news to his mother, but as we all know, you can never easily convince a mother. She bursts into tears, crying, "Go where? Leave the house? You just barely came back to us, and I am terrified of losing you. You are absolutely not leaving this house." The father and the rest of the family try their best to reason with her, but she refuses to budge. Days blur into weeks, and as the family's collective pleading intensifies, the mother finally gives in and grants her permission, but under 2 strict conditions. Condition number 1, he must take one of their trusted family friends as a bodyguard on his journey. Condition number 2, he must stay at home until they celebrate his 9th birthday, which is exactly 2 weeks away. Arthur smiles and agrees, saying, "Deal, Mom." Time flies by, and the family throws a massive, beautiful birthday bash for him. Everyone brings awesome gifts to spoil him, but the most critical gift of all is a pair of magical tracking rings. One is placed on Arthur's finger, and the other is placed on his mother's hand. If either of them is ever in mortal danger, the rings will instantly alert the other, allowing them to rush to the rescue. Finally, Uncle Vincent steps up and says, "All right, kid, you're going to need a proper weapon for the road." He takes Arthur to his elite subterranean vault to choose a sword. Arthur inspects dozens of high-tier swords, but nothing clicks, nothing feels right. Suddenly, baby Sylvia leaps out, chirping for Arthur to follow her. She points toward a rusty, discarded piece of scrap iron buried in the dirt on the floor. Arthur has no idea what she sees in it, but he picks it up and decides to inject a spark of his mana into it. Boom! The rusty iron suddenly shatters, revealing a magnificent, legendary sword. It isn't an ordinary blade. It instantly recognizes Arthur as its rightful master, shifting its shape and weight to perfectly match his young body. Just then, Uncle Vincent calls out to him. Panicking, Arthur quickly grabs a random, ordinary second sword from the rack, hiding the legendary blade away so no one discovers he possesses such a lethal weapon. And with that, the departure date finally arrives, and our hero sets off on a brand new journey that will completely rewrite his destiny. But who is the mysterious bodyguard joining him? Yes, it's Jasmine. She happily volunteered for the mission and is waiting for him right outside the estate. Arthur bids a final, emotional farewell to his crying family, packs his bags, and hits the road. They arrive at the Grand Adventurers Guild, where Arthur wears a dark cloak to completely conceal his face and identity. They walk into the evaluation hall, and the moment the guild director spots Jasmine, it's clear they share a history. He whispers something in her ear, then turns to Arthur. "Since you're traveling with Jasmine, we will completely exempt you from the written exam. You can skip straight to the practical combat test. But tell me, young man, what is your name?" Arthur refuses to reveal his true identity, replying firmly, "My name is Note." They shake hands, and Arthur instantly senses that this director possesses immense strength. They enter the bustling combat arena, where a young girl is currently dueling a powerful female examiner. The girl unleashes a spectacular spell that wows the crowd, earning her a solid C rank. She cheers, ecstatic with the result. Next up, a wealthy-looking boy steps up for his evaluation, but in a shocking display of blatant nepotism, the judge stops the match immediately, granting the boy a high B rank without him even throwing a single punch. Witnessing this corruption, an arrogant noble student named Lucas steps forward, shouting, "Hey, why don't you just hand me an A rank right now without a test? Or do I need to bring a wealthy backer to get special treatment too?" The female examiner ignores his attitude and barks, "Step down here and prove it." Lucas drops into the arena and unleashes a shocking wave of magic that leaves the entire audience gasping. The examiner swiftly blocks his attack with a massive earth wall, but Lucas leaps over it, casting a massive, high-level fire spell in the sky, intending to rain hellfire down upon her from all directions. But does this arrogant brat possess the actual skill to control such a massive spell? Absolutely not. The fire magic completely fractures out of control, spreading outward and threatening to incinerate the innocent spectators in the stands. Seeing the danger, the examiner is forced to unleash her full power to completely cancel out the runaway flames. Because Lucas completely failed to control his own magic, the judges penalize him, granting him only a B rank. Furious and humiliated, Lucas snaps, charging at the examiner to launch a cowardly sneak attack while her back is turned. But in a flash, Arthur throws his sword across the arena, perfectly intercepting Lucas's weapon and halting his attack dead in its tracks. Arthur glares at him, saying coldly, "Stand down, brat. Cut out the cheap, cowardly tricks." Fearing Arthur's icy glare, Lucas angrily retreats, harboring a deep, bitter grudge. Finally, the announcer calls up the last applicant. Note: Arthur steps onto the arena floor, fully unleashing his raw manacore. The sheer pressure leaves the entire audience paralyzed with shock. Even the guild master himself is so thoroughly stunned that he pushes the examiner aside, declaring, "Stand back. I will personally face this boy in combat." Hearing the guild master's declaration, the crowd goes absolutely wild, waiting for the clash with bated breath. The duel erupts. Hyped for a real fight, Arthur charges forward with his sword, infusing it with roaring fire magic. The guild master effortlessly parries his rapid strikes, unleashing a heavy barrage of counterattacks. Swept up in the excitement, Arthur goes all out, believing his final strike will end the match. But this is the guild master we're talking about. He easily deflects Arthur's ultimate move, forcing him to lose the clash. The guild master smiles, giving him a vital piece of advice: never rush into an ultimate attack back when you haven't fully mapped out your opponent's true capabilities. Ultimately, Arthur is awarded a B rank. But let you in on a massive secret, my friend. Arthur only utilized a mere half of his actual strength, intentionally holding back so no one could uncover his true identity. After the evaluations end, the two examiners approached the guild director, demanding to know why a boy named Elijah was granted a B rank without taking a test. The director looked serious, explaining, "Do you remember the legendary conflict between the dwarves and the elves? Well, Elijah is the very first human mage to be raised directly by the dwarves. High-level orders came from the absolute top commanding me to pass him, which is why he received a B rank without a test. As for Lucas, he is a rare human-elf hybrid, which explains his unnaturally massive mana pool. But the one who truly terrifies me is Note. There is absolutely zero data on his identity, yet he possesses lethal, monstrous capabilities. Mark my words, a massive revolution is coming." Meanwhile, as Arthur is walking through the crowded city streets, Elijah suddenly blocks his path, saying, "What you did back there was completely reckless. You shouldn't have stepped in to save the examiner. If you hadn't, I would have saved her myself." By reckless, Elijah means that Arthur just painted a massive target on his back by humiliating Lucas, whose family holds terrifying, unmatched political power. Overhearing their conversation, Lucas sneers as he walks past them, threatening Arthur, "You better thank God there are witnesses around, brat, or I would have cracked your skull open right here." Arthur just rolls his eyes, thinking, "Yeah, right. Let's see you try, tough guy." Following these intense events, Jasmine takes our hero to a notorious hunting ground. She explains, "This area is packed with low-level monsters. We are going to slaughter them one by one until your body adapts to fighting real beasts." But as they walk, Arthur's mind is completely consumed by his loss to the guild master. "I lost that match because I let my emotions take over and got reckless. From now on, I must calculate the exact right moment to strike, or I will never truly evolve." Suddenly, a series of violent explosions shatters his train of thought. Deep in the forest, a colossal, high-level monster has broken free from a group of elite adventurers and is brutally slaughtering them. The adventurers' carriages are completely smashed, and the beast has trapped them, devouring them one by one. Sensing the mortal danger, Jasmine immediately charges forward, unleashing her magic to distract and slay the beast. But the monster proves to be overwhelmingly powerful. It completely evades her strikes and corners her, preparing a fatal blow. But if you think Arthur is going to let his friend die, you're dead wrong. In a fraction of a second, he blurs across the field, pulling her out of harm's way just in time. Jasmine gasps, deeply thanking him. The vicious monster abandons them, turning its sights on the remaining wounded survivors. Jasmine bravely runs to stand in front of them, using her own body as a shield. Arthur tracks the monster's movements, whispering, "Just a little closer." The monstrous beast closes the distance, inches away from tearing Jasmine apart, and boom, Arthur unleashes a cataclysmic, high-level fire attack, completely erasing the colossal beast from physical existence. The sheer magnitude of his power leaves the survivors utterly paralyzed with shock. No one can believe an 8-year-old child just obliterated an S-rank threat. Even Jasmine stands there with her mouth wide open, completely stunned. Thanks to Arthur's brilliant intervention, everyone survives. And right here, my friends, marks the spectacular conclusion of Season 1 of our epic anime recap. I truly hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe for Part 2.